What's going on, y'all? Welcome back. It's us. Let's get productive. So today I'm really excited to talk about something brand new from Beatskillz. Now, if you've tuned into this channel and you watch my reviews, you've definitely seen me review Beatskillz VSTs before. I recently did their sequel VST. One of the things that's really cool about Beatskillz and what they do is they focus heavily on really cool retro sounding drums and retro sounding synths. So a lot of their VSTs is dedicated to that late 80s, early 90s heavy pop synth sound. It's very authentic. So I love going to Beatskillz when I'm looking for something that's going to give me that nice, really cool retro sound. But today we're going to talk about their newest VST, Tekno Keyz. Now, it's marketed as that 90s techno kind of synth sound, but I found that amongst all the Beatskillz VSTs, this thing kind of stands alone and it's special in its own right. I found that it's their first VST that kind of actually feels like a hip-hop rompler, which makes it very special amongst the categories of Beatskillz VSTs. And it's the first one that has a modern kind of look, a modern aesthetic, and some modern categories, even though it caters to a retro 90s sound. And it's the first one that feels, like I said, kind of like a hip-hop rompler. So even though it fits in the category of the Beatskillz VSTs, it kind of stands alone. And I was really excited to get my hands on it. It's really cool looking. It's definitely a dope VST. So without talking anymore, we're gonna jump right into it. Beatskillz, Tekno Keyz, let's do it. So, as always, I have Logic queued up, and this is Tekno Keyz. Now, one of the things you're gonna notice right off the bat is this VST doesn't look like any of the other Beatskillz VSTs. It kind of stands alone, and it has a modern look. So just looking at the UI, you definitely get that kind of Native Instruments, Play Series, modern UI kind of aesthetic, but with Beatskillz' own flair. They definitely add their own dynamic and their own taste to the UI design, and it's really cool. There's a lot going on, a lot to unpack in this VST. So before we jump into the VST, I wanted to just take a look at the website real quick and go over some of the things that you're getting with this VST. You're getting up to 200 factory presets. It has a 32-step arpeggiator. You can edit and save your presets. 9 swappable effects available. That's really cool. I've been playing around with that. I can't wait to show you guys that. It has 2 multi-sample map engines, so pretty much 2 sound engines, so you can layer your sounds and do really cool things with that, which is really important with this VST, and we're going to get into why that's important a little bit later. Comes with factory presets, multi-sample maps. You have bass maps, stabs, dance, organs, drum kits, which is fire. The drum kits in this thing is fire. And in my opinion, maybe their best drums, even more so than their drum VSTs. The drums in this VST is probably their best drums. So we're gonna jump back into the VST right here. Like I said, this is the UI design, really cool. I love the yellow. It has a really nice vibe to it. It's really vibrant, it really stands out. One of the really cool things about this VST is that when you hit any of the sounds in this VST, as you can see right here in the UI, you get a really cool wave signal happening right here in the center. And it's accurate. So it's not just waves bouncing around for effect. It's actually following what's happening in the actual instrument itself. So it's just really cool. It's cool to look at on the display, but it's actually responsive to what's happening as you're playing the sounds. And I think that's really cool. If you want to turn that off, you can just click this little button right here. And when you play the sounds, the display won't happen. If you want to leave it on, you can leave it on and the display will show. So really cool things, really unique. So they definitely added their own flair to it. As you can see, you have your A and B engines. So your A engine for your sounds over here on the left and your B engine for your sounds over here on the right. And you can combine those sounds to get some interesting presets happening, and you can save your own presets. So even though this thing comes with 200 presets, you can save your own presets and turn 200 into 400. And that's really important because as you're going to see in a second when I start going through some of these presets, some of the categories in them, some of the different maps inside of these presets are a little limited. It's not a whole bunch of certain maps inside of the presets. But that doesn't matter because you can layer the sounds and change them up how you want and create your own thing. And I think that's what this thing really does well, is it allows you to really create your own thing. If you look down here, you have your low cut and your high cut for both your A and your B engines. And everything you have on your A engine, you also have on your B engine. So you have your ADSR section, your V curve, your cutoff knob, your fine tuning over here on your A engine and on your B engine. You have a volume control for your B engine and a volume control for your A engine. And if you wanted to just completely turn off your A engine, you can just click this button right here, or you can click it to turn it back on. Same thing with your B engine. You also have two pan knobs for both your A and your B engine, which is really cool because some of these sounds have a lot of dynamics to the sound itself, and being able to kind of position them where you want them in the stereo field makes it a lot easier to work with. Well, if you come up here, you'll see you have your category section for your A engine. So factory, you have your basses, your chord stabs, your dance organs, drum kits, effects, guitars, keys and pads, orchestral, synths, Vox, and you have the same thing for your B engine. So you can switch these things up, get your sound design on, and really do something super creative. If you go down here to the bottom, we're on the main page here. You can go right over here to edit, and that main keyboard display will disappear. And this is where you get into your filters, your envelopes. You can change the LFOs, and this is when you can really dive in deep into really carving out the dynamics of your sound and making it something special. Over here, you have your arpeggiator, your whole arp engine, the velocity, your note length, your pitch, all of that really cool stuff, which is just super fun to play with. Like you're gonna see in a second when I start going through the sounds, a lot of these presets are already set up with the arpeggiator on, which can be a little annoying sometimes because some of these sounds I want to hear without the arpeggiator. So the fact that they're just automatically on can kind of be a little annoying, but it's not a big deal. And I'll show you what this stuff sounds like in just a second. Over here on the right, you have your effects box. Now the effects in this thing, there's 8 different effects that you can add to your sounds, but the effects that come with this thing, it's not bloated with effects. It's giving you the effects you need to achieve the sound you're trying to achieve that fits within the mold of 90s techno and synth sounds. And even outside of that mold, these effects are really just what you need to get just creative enough to take the sounds that are already in this thing to a whole new level. You have your compressor right here, which is always good, your bit crusher, a stereo expander, which is awesome. I love using the stereo expander in this thing. The reverb sounds really good. You have a phaser, you have a chorus effect, a delay effect, and a saturation effect. And up top here, you have your equalizer section, which has your low shelf, your low mid shelf, your high mid shelf, and your high shelf. And that's really cool. We can go back to the main menu here. You have the options with these buttons down here to turn off the effects or on the effects without having to go to the effects page and turn off individual effects. You can just stay on the main page and turn it on and off clicking this button right here. And the same thing with your arpeggiator. So this is really important because most of these presets that you go through are already set up with the arpeggiator on. So it's cool to not have to go to your arpeggiator and to be able to just go right here and turn off the arpeggiator just by clicking that button. Like I said, this VST is dedicated to that 90s techno sound. So that's the reason why a lot of the presets come with the arpeggiator on. Down here on the right side, you have your volume knob, you have your pitch bend knob, you have a save button right here. You have your forward and back arrows so you can scroll through your presets without having to actually open up the preset menu. And you can just click on this little icon down here on the left and it'll take you to your banks and your categories. Now you have your user bank where you would save your own preset, and you have your factory bank. And that's basically it as far as the UI goes and as far as the features inside of this thing. Obviously, the more you dive into it and the more you dive into like your edits tab, and you can do a lot more inside of this thing. But just taking it at face value, you can already see that as far as Beatskillz go, they really reached to try to make a next level instrument in their category of instruments. Something that feels retro, but bringing it into a modern age and giving it a new wave feel. And it just looks good. It sounds good. So we're going to go through some of the instruments in this thing. Some of the categories that I'm really interested in. We'll talk about some of the things that you need to look out for in some of these categories that'll help you get the most out of the instruments. Because one of the things that I notice about this VST is it's so catered to that 90s techno sound that sometimes you have to unpreset the presets. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you have to turn certain elements off to really hear what's happening with the instruments because they gave you a preset that's so dedicated to a certain sound. So let's jump into some of the sounds inside of this thing and see what's going on inside of Tekno Keyz. So we're going to go right here into presets, and we'll start off with the Anthem 90s. I already played the Mortal Kombat one. You have Rave Line. And like I said, this is an example of you needing to sometimes unpreset the preset. That's my term for basically scaling back some of the effects and things that are on this sound. This already has an arpeggiator on it, which is cool. But if you don't want the if you like the sound and don't want the arpeggiator on it, you can just go down here, click ARP. And you get the sound by itself. And you can go down to Rave Line 2. So if you're trying to get that techno sound, we're going to get there with these. This is synth layer 1. Synth layer 2. Synth layer 3. Now with this one, I really like how the organ sounds in this one. So I would go over here to the volume on the source synth, turn that down a little bit. Then I would go into effects. I would turn up the reverb a little bit. Turn up the delay. And it'll just drag that sound out a little bit more. Go back to the main menu. Maybe I'll change that synth sound altogether. Let me go over to, matter of fact, let me do orchestral. Let me do, this is cool. I like this. Really cool sounding. And if I like what I just did, I can hit the save button, go into my user categories and name it whatever I want to name it. I'll name it Cool Organ and just hit save, and it'll be right there in my user category and my presets, Cool Organ. Just go right there, double click it, and I can play it how I want to play it. And it's that simple to save a preset, and you can do this all day with the instruments. Go right back into the presets. We can try a different category. Let's try keys. So we have dark piano. Dark piano 2. We have keys 2. This one is really nice. of fact, I'm gonna save this one just because I like it. Maybe I'll add an effect to this. Maybe I'll add some reverb. I really like this one. We're gonna save that one. I'm gonna keep it the same name because I didn't really change it too much. We'll just save it in there. Boom. Go right back in. Go right back into the presets. Keep moving forward. We have Keyz Crystal Bell. I'm skipping some of the presets just to give you some different ideas of what things sound like. You have Dance Piano. You have Keyz Phaser. Really cool stuff. And everything from the UI design of this down to going through the categories and the way I'm going through the categories, it doesn't feel like any of the other Beatskillz VSTs, which were heavily dedicated to that 80s retro synth sound. As I go through these keys and these pianos, it feels like you can make an R&B beat with this. You can do a lot of interesting things with this. You can add some 808 and some trap style drums to this and really get some cool sounding beats. And I think this is the only VST they have in that category that if you are a hip hop producer, you can get a lot out of this. A lot of their other VSTs are so heavily focused on the retro sound that you have to basically be making a beat for like the weekend or something like that to use those VSTs. And it's cool. It's awesome. Those VSTs are great at that category of what they do. But this is the first one that blends both worlds in a really great way so that I feel like this is their first every producer VST. Like anyone could use this for any genre of music and get something really cool out of it. And I love it. We can go down here to orchestral, go to some of the strings. Play mark strings. Or brass. We can go over here to strings and brass. Some epic brass right there. That sounds like the kind of melody or the kind of instruments that would have been used on like Jay-Z's Blueprint 3 or something like that. Like, really cool stuff. We can go to one of the categories that I wasn't super fond of was the pads categories. It's a little too synthy for me, for my taste. So if you're looking for some really warm, lush sounding pads, I didn't feel like I got that with this in this VST. That one is nice. That one is nice. And see, after those two, it starts getting a little bit synthy. And there's nothing wrong with these pads, but just I would have liked, because there's only 9 pads in this category, I would have liked if they would have expanded the presets in this category, maybe gave us 10 or 15 presets in this pads category, and maybe half of those would have been a little bit warmer and not so synth heavy and aggressive. Just super aggressive. And because with me, usually when I use my pads, I'm using them to make my chords and to build on the melody and kind of give my beat a little bit of body. I don't want things that are too sharp because I've already kind of given the sharpness to my beat with the melody. I want something that's a little more mellow, a little bit warmer, a little bit wide and spacious sounding. So if they would have added more pads to that category that sound like that, I think it would have been better. There's nothing wrong with these pads, but I just wish they would have added a bit more of that. You have a risers category here. Really cool stuff. You have sequences like your ARPs. You have stabs. And this is where you're really gonna get into your techno vibe. You have a lot of chord stabs here that just sound really cool for that techno dance type music. So you have stuff like this. Down to dance stab 8 here. And another cool thing is you can rearrange these effects in the chain, so you know you can put things where you need them to be in the effects chain. So I can move the delay up. If I wanted to. I could put the delay over here. I can move the reverb up if I wanted to. Just you can move things around, and that makes it really cool to really have complete control over your effects and where you want them to sit in the effects chain. They have voices, voice stab. Really 90s sounding voice effects here. Some of these are really cool, like this phase one. Air bottles. So someone blowing into a bottle. This is a really cool one. You could definitely use this sound in a trap beat. And this is what I mean. Even though it's dedicated to techno, it's something that's definitely a lot more modern than some of their other VSTs, and you can use it in some of your modern sounding hip hop beats. Really cool sounding. And you even have guitars here. You have your Strat guitar. Steel. You have a mute guitar, harmonics, another Strat, wobbits, beautiful, crazy. Just really cool sounding stuff. So what I want to do right now is get right into the cookup. I'm going to show you a beat that I created using Tekno Keyz. Now, the really cool thing about this beat is because this VST comes with so many different categories, including the drums category, which I didn't really showcase when I was going through the sounds, but I was trying to save that for the beat reveal. Because it comes with all of these different categories, I was able to basically construct the entire beat using only Tekno Keyz. There's only 2 instruments in this beat that I used another VST for. Just about 98% of this beat was constructed using Tekno Keyz, and all of the drums that you're gonna hear in this beat came out of Tekno Keyz. So instead of going, because the drum category is huge, I'll show you really quickly the The drums category is full of drums, as you can see right here. And it's not just techno drums. They have 808 type drums, all kinds of drums. You have hi-hats, all of that, a category with just nothing but kicks. And the kicks are really unique sounding. Every other sound you hear in this beat came out of Tekno Keyz, including the drums. And I want to emphasize that, including the drums. So you'll really be able to hear the kind of music you can create using this VST, including the drums. And I also want to emphasize, because the drums category in this VST might be my favorite category in this VST, but I didn't showcase it when I was going through the sounds because I wanted you to hear what I created using the drums, as opposed to going through every single category of drums, because there's a whole lot of categories in there. So this is the beat I made using Tekno Keyz. Let's check it out. And that's it. That was the beat that I made using Tekno Keyz. Now, like I said earlier, I'm really digging the drums in this thing, and I'm really digging the direction that Beatskillz has decided to take with this new VST. I really hope they continue to create more VSTs like this. That is a perfect matchup and a perfect blend of what we love about the old, while also introducing a little bit of the new into the UI design and into the categories and the presets. I think it's a perfect blend. I honestly think they could stop on this VST for a while and focus heavily on just creating expansion packs for this VST, because there's a lot of room for growth in this thing. Like, there's categories that aren't even in there that they could add just through updates and expansion packs. They can do expansion packs that are dedicated to specific sounds and specific genres. I really feel like if they put all of their focus into this VST moving forward, it could be a really big one for them. And I'm just enjoying it. So let me know what you think from what you heard so far. Is this something that you would check out? Also, if you have any VSTs and plugins that you would like to see me review on this channel, leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to check them out. As always, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you can stay notified anytime I drop a new video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.